Well, let me put it in easy Warcraft terms for you. Imagine your homeland is attacked by a bad neighbor, a brutal, dark, war-mongering wizard who launches fireballs at your house every day, killing men, women, and children in your house every single day. And the great good wizard, that neighbor overseas, that gives you a powerful spell that can make the bad neighbor stop its criminal aggression against you, but good wizard is not allowing you to cast the spell in full. You only are allowed to cast a half of the spell, so to shoot down some of those fireballs, but you can't destroy bad neighbor's fireball bases and his wizards casting these deadly spells. Why? Because great good wizard is afraid of escalation. So good wizard's half spells are enough to make sure your half-life continues. But the war itself gets protracted. More of your family members die every day. That is exactly what Ukraine feels, sitting on an American weapon that can't save us and not being able to use it at full swing.
The right to self-defense does not end 100 kilometers from the border. We have not imposed any restrictions on Ukraine regarding operational range. This also applies to the use of F-16 fighters, which the Netherlands transferred to Ukraine. Ruben Brekelmans, Minister of Defense of the Netherlands, in an interview with the Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung.
The US President Joe Biden is not ruling out, as he says, the possibility of Ukraine receiving permission to strike Russian territory with long-range weapons. Antony Blinken, the Secretary of State, made this comment after saying at a press conference in London that Iran had provided Moscow with short-range missiles and Soviet leader Comrade Putin would likely use these weapons within weeks in Ukraine. And trust me, he will. Blinken said the US has made sure that Ukraine has what it needed, when it needed, to be effective in repelling the Russian aggression since the Russian invasion began in February 2022. However, the Sky reporters say Blinken added that Washington also had to take count of other factors, such as whether Ukrainian forces would be able to use the, I quote, sophisticated systems provided by Western allies and whether they would be able to maintain them. We don't rule out the possibility, we never rule out, but when we rule in, we want to make sure it's done in such a way that it can advance what the Ukrainians are trying to achieve, Blinken said. And Ukraine clearly explains why we need what we need.
Anyone who simply sees on a map where Russia strikes from on a daily basis, where Russia trains its forces and keeps reserves, where it locates military facilities and what logistics it uses, anyone who sees all this clearly understands why Ukraine needs long-range capability. By the way, we discussed this in detail with Antony Blinken and David Lammy, the US Secretary of State and the British Foreign Secretary, who were recently in Kyiv. I hope that after our conversation, there simply cannot be any unanswered questions about why Ukraine needs sufficient long-range capability.
And something on that saying of Mr. Blinken on if Ukrainians would be ready and able to maintain and use sophisticated spells that the good wizard in the West can provide us with. Well, what Ukraine has is a proven record of using Western weaponry properly and maintaining it. We never, not even once, failed our partners and allies and kept all our promises meticulously. And Russia, same meticulously, broke all of theirs. The Kremlin broke all its promises and broke all imaginable laws and customs of war by killing children and civilians. So the only question Western politicians should be really asking themselves these days is what is more likely to happen? Ukraine to continue to keep its promises and use Western military technology in a proper and legit way? Or Putin just quits on all his imperial ambitions without Ukraine forcing him to do it with American sophisticated systems?